Regular listeners of this program are well aware of my association with Maureen Faulkner. Maureen Faulkner is the widow of police officer Daniel Faulkner. He was killed in the line of duty December 9, 1981 by Abu Jamal, who is today and has been for more than 2 decades the highest profile resident of death row anywhere in the world. I wrote a book with Maureen Faulkner. It's her story. Murdered by Mumia, a life sentence of loss, pain, and injustice. It came out a couple of years ago. It was a New York Times bestseller. And in the book, we painstakingly recreated what happened on the night of December 9, 1981, and what happened thereafter. How, despite being convicted by a jury of his peers based on the eyewitness testimony of 4 different individuals and the ballistics and the confession and, he nevertheless became a national and then international anti-death penalty poster child. This Free Mumia effort with Mike Farrell and Ed Asner and Whoopi Goldberg and Jesse Jackson all rallying on his behalf. And then on death row, while on death row, Abu Jamal published several books. He delivered radio commentaries. He was a college commencement speaker. He was named an honorary citizen of France. His defense coffers, a lot of people got rich, I say, connected to the Abu Jamal defense. His defense coffers enhanced by ticket sales from remember this, 16,000 person sold out concert in New Jersey, Rage Against the Machine and the Beastie Boys. So we tried to dissect the murder and the aftermath and tell it through Maureen Faulkner's eyes. Why do I bring it up today? I bring it up today because last night in Philadelphia, the world premiere of a movie, The Barrel of a Gun. Tigre Hill is the director. He's a young guy, and I give him great credit. He's an African-American. And his presentation, his 2-hour presentation, a methodical analysis of not only what happened, which we covered in the book, but something that we did not cover in the book. And I said last night at the end of the movie, Tigre was very gracious in asking me to come up on stage. Most importantly, Maureen Faulkner was there, and Joe McGill, who prosecuted Abu Jamal, was there. Lynn Abraham was there. Hugh Burns were there, meaning on the stage, because Tigre had acknowledged their role. And in very brief remarks, I said what Tigre has contributed to this long-standing debacle, because that's what it is. A murder committed in 1981, that has still not run its course in the criminal justice system. That's disgraceful. However you may look at this case, the fact that this is now 2010, mid-September, and I'm talking about it, it exhausts me. Imagine what it's done to Maureen Faulkner and the Faulkner family. But what I said last night is that the contribution of this film, and I don't know how it's going to be distributed, I hope and pray you get the opportunity to see it. The contribution is that it answers the question, why? Because the support for Abu Jamal is always anxious to say, hey, this guy was this esteemed journalist. He didn't have a history of violence. He didn't have a criminal. Why in the world? Yeah, he was a protester of different political. But why in the world would he have murdered Danny Faulkner? And I believe that Tigre Hill's movie goes a great distance in answering that question. The answer, by the way, in a nutshell, is a background of radicalism, which is what produced Mumia Abu Jamal. And he also raises, through both my commentary and more significantly that of Joe McGill, the prosecutor, the very real prospect that the whole murder was a setup, that Abu Jamal and his brother were looking to participate in the execution of a cop. Because the way that it happened at 10 minutes of 4 on that cold December night is that Abu Jamal's brother drove the wrong way on a one-way street in this dilapidated Volkswagen, got pulled over by Danny Faulkner, and as he's making this routine traffic stop, which turns confrontational, Abu Jamal, then a taxi driver, just happens to be across the street runs across Locust Street and empties his firearm into Danny Faulkner, including into his brain. Awfully coincidental that the two brothers, the Cook brothers, were in such close proximity to one another that night. And that's what I think Tigre Hill addressed. I mean, as I said when I wrote my own review of this last Sunday, if you mention the Black Panthers to a young person today, and if the words have any resonance at all, they might bring to mind the two knuckleheads who made a scene outside of that polling place on Election Day in 2008. But there was a time when a powerful revolutionary movement of that same name, with infinitely more damaging consequences, really did infiltrate urban America. And Tigre Hill in Barrel of a Gun presents a reminder of that era. It is a full-screen documentary about the murder. And if you're wondering, well, what's left to explore? You know, what else is there that could be possibly said about this case? In a word, in my word, context. Context. Because what he does is place the murder in this historical context and provide a compelling answer as to why Abu Jamal pulled the trigger. It chronicles the rise of the Black Panthers and the peak of their power in the late 60s, when the FBI defined the Panthers as a black extremist organization advocating the use of guns and guerrilla tactics to bring about the overthrow of the government. They were preaching this black militancy and the use of violence, not only to achieve revolution, but also to enliven, they said, the consciousness of those behind it. I mean, what they wanted to do was overthrow the establishment, and they targeted its most visible representatives, police officers. So, you know, here was a young Abu Jamal handing out copies of Chairman Mao's Little Red Book with all of his proselytizing and slogans in it. He was proselytizing for an organization whose rallying cry at the time was "Off the Pigs." And it gets into Huey Newton and what happened in Oakland when another officer was killed. Newton, a guy that Abu Jamal praised throughout the years. I mean, all of this gets dissected. And then what throws a switch for Tigre Hill in the movie in explaining this is how Jamal loses any sense of objectivity that he had when there was this radical back to nature group in Philadelphia called MOVE. That's what triggered it. Somebody in the movie last night said the guy was a ticking time bomb. Don't believe those who say, oh, we're really surprised, it was out of character. It was bound to happen. I don't know what the plans are for distribution. All I know is it is a movie well worth your time, and it will outlive all of us who've been involved in this case, which is not a bad thing. That's a good thing. So that when history in the future tries to misunderstand these facts, misreport the truth, the movie will be there, just like the book. Karen, you were there?
Michael, how are you?
Hi. Quick review from you.
I thought it was extremely well done. I really appreciated the historical aspect. I can't help but wonder in my mind how coincidental it was that they were both there at that location that night.
Tigre Hill deserves a lot of credit. It's not easy given the racial dynamics of this case. I mean, it's a subject that has, in large measure, divided communities according to race. He's an African-American film director, and he's the one who brought it to life. I said last night, Tigre, I always get confused in terms of whether the standard is supposed to be 4 or 5 stars. Whatever the standard might be, you get them all. No matter how effective the movie by Tigre Hill might be, the conspiracy theories, just like September 11, will always linger. This is Dawn. Hi, Dawn. Thank you for the call.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Michael, there were 2 lie detector tests administered by an eminent polygraph expert, Charles Huntz. And the lie detector test was given in 1999 to Arnold Beverly, who confessed to killing police officer Daniel Faulkner. Now, he said there was another man with him. He said the mafia paid him to do it. He gave great detail in a movie. And the court has refused, even though the latter criminal attorneys wanted to put him on the stand, the court has refused to do it, and the DA has refused to let it happen.
Well, it's even more appalling than that. Mr. Beverly admitted He is the one who murdered Danny Faulkner.
That's what I'm saying.
How could the court not hear that?
Well, you know why? Because there's a lot of corruption, Michael.
Yeah.
And you should know because you've seen it as a lawyer. You know what goes on.
Thank you for the call. See what I mean? That proves my point. Arnold Beverly is a guy, she's right about one thing, who confessed to murdering Danny Faulkner, right? He's a loon. And the reason why his testimony was never put forth is because the Abu Jamal lawyers said, this is wacky. We're not going to put this guy forward. We're not going to risk this case on this testimony. And Tigre Hill's movie has the confession by Mr. Beverly in the movie. There was audible laughter in the audience. It is just precisely what I'm talking about. And what is my basis for saying Abu Jamal's lawyers weren't comfortable? One of them wrote a book and revealed all this. And when the book came out, he was fired. Tigre, congratulations. But as has just been proven here, for some people, nothing's going to be enough in terms of confronting them with the truth.